Hi boys and girls, it's Ms Flanagan, and I thought today I would read The Princess and the Pig. And there's some interesting facts on the back that I think might intrigue you. Can a pig really become a princess? There's been a dreadful mix-up in the royal nursery. Priscilla the princess has swapped places with Pigmella the piglet. Could this be the work of fairies? It's the sort of thing that happens all the while in books, but this is a fairy tale without fairies, and this is no ordinary book. So, The Princess and the Pig. Not that long ago, in a kingdom not far from here, a farmer was traveling home from market with a cartload of straw. The farmer was so poor that he didn't have a horse and had to pull his own cart. In the back of the cart lay a tiny pink piglet. Nobody wanted to buy the piglet at market, but the farmer had taken pity on it. "I'll call you Pigmella," he decided, as this seemed like a good name for a pig. Okay, so here he is coming home from the market. And here he is naming the pig. It was a hot day, and the farmer stopped to rest in the shade of a great castle. Far, far above him, on a high balcony, a queen was inspecting her new baby daughter. The queen was so rich that she had 7 nannies and didn't have to look after her own child. The queen picked the baby out of her cot and held her at arm's length. "I'll call it Priscilla," she decided, as this seemed like a good name for a princess. Okay, so here she is naming her baby. A moment later, a wet, squelching noise came from the baby's nappy, closely followed by an awful smell. "Yuck!" shrieked the queen, dropping the baby and running off to find the royal nannies. She left so quickly that she didn't notice she had dropped the baby over the edge of the balcony. Okay, so here she is getting upset about the diaper. And then here the baby is dropping out of the balcony. Down, down, down went the baby into the farmer's cart. Up, up, up flew the piglet into the princess's cot. So kind of like a seesaw, like he's falling down, she's falling down, she hits the straw, she sends the piglet up into the air, and the piglet ends up in the cot. When the queen returned and found the piglet lying where the baby should have been, she let out an even louder shriek and fainted into the nanny's arms. The king thought he knew what had happened. "A bad fairy has done this," he explained. "The fairy wasn't invited to the princess's christening, so she's turned the baby into a piglet to get her revenge. It's a sort of thing that happens all the while in books." Okay, so here's the piglet, and then here is the king thinking this has happened in previous books, and this is a bad fairy. Meanwhile, the farmer had returned home and was startled to discover a baby girl lying where the piglet should have been. The farmer's wife thought she knew what had happened. "A good fairy has done this," she explained. "The fairy knew how poor and honest we are and how badly we wanted a child, so she's turned the piglet into a baby. It's a sort of thing that happens all the while in books." Okay, so now they're thinking a good fairy has brought them a baby, and they're thinking of the book Thumbelina. And so, without a second thought, the baby became Pigmella, the farmer's daughter, and the piglet became Priscilla, the princess. So now they've swapped places. Here she is on the farm, and here she is in the castle. It wasn't long before Pigmella was able to eat, walk, and dress all by herself, and the farmer and his wife soon forgot that she had ever been a pig. Things were not so easy for Priscilla, but the king and queen never let anyone forget that she was really a princess. Okay, so here she is learning to do all of the things that a kid would do. And then here is the pig not going as well for her at the castle. As Pigmella grew older, she grew clever and beautiful and was admired by everyone she met. As Priscilla grew older, she grew not so clever and not so beautiful and was avoided by everyone she met. Okay, so things are still going pretty well for the princess. Everything's moving along smoothly. Not so much for the piglet. Then one day, the farmer's wife overheard some of the castle's servants talking about the princess who had turned into a pig. "It's just like what happened to Pigmella," she told her husband, "only the other way around." The farmer soon guessed what had happened. "The princess and the pig must have swapped places somehow," he explained. "It's a sort of thing that happens all the while in books." The poor farmer and his wife were very unhappy. They loved Pigmella, but they knew they must return her to her rightful home. So now they're realizing that a mistake has been made, and he's thinking of the book, The Prince and the Pauper, where a rich prince and a poor boy switch places, and then here they are deciding they should return her to the castle. Pigmella was very unhappy. She loved the farmer and his wife and did not want to live with anyone else, but they were an honest family, so the next day they all went to the castle to see the king and queen. The king and queen listened to the farmer's story. Okay, so here they are going to the castle, and then here they are speaking to the king and queen. But they didn't believe it. "What nonsense!" cried the queen. "Ridiculous!" laughed the king. "This girl may be clever and beautiful, but she does not look or speak like a proper princess." The queen thought she knew what was happening. "It's a trick," she declared. "This girl is just a farmer's daughter, pretending to be a princess in the hope that she might marry a prince. It's a sort of thing that happens all the while in books." Okay, so they think she's a fraud and that it's not true, and they're thinking of the book Puss in Boots, where something similar happens. And so Pigmella returned home with the farmer and his wife, where she married a young shepherd and lived happily ever after, and never once wished that she'd been a princess. Okay, so she just went back to her former life and lived a very, very happy life. And Priscilla also got married to a handsome prince, although he had to be talked into it. Priscilla was changed into a pig by a bad fairy, the king explained. "But once you kiss her, the spell will be broken, and she will turn back into a beautiful princess," added the queen. "It's a sort of thing that happens all the while in books," they assured him. And they're thinking of the book, The Frog Prince. And we're wondering what will happen. But unfortunately for the prince, it's not the sort of thing that happens in this particular book. Okay, so in this book, she remains a pig and she does not turn into a beautiful princess. So that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.